I'm switching to English because we have a speaker from abroad, so that's the reason. Okay, so Tay here, who didn't have a problem with the lagging of the interpretation. That was the case. So, and we have 40 minutes and they already started the clock down. And I know that we have a pretty difficult task. It's us and the break, okay, and food outside. So we'll try to make this as interesting as possible in order, to have not everybody leave out. That's the thing. So, what's the subject? The subject is GenAI-Powered Future of Customer Experience Operational Efficiency. Okay, nice subject. Okay, two things, customer experience, operational efficiency. My personal belief is that it's two areas that we can use a lot of GenAI, so I would like to start from there to give us a little bit of what exactly how you're using GenAI in terms of either customer experience or operational efficiency or both, or how you provide that to your customers. So I will start with George. George, did I mention which are the panels? No, I didn't. That's my. That's right. Okay. So I will start from my left here. We have Andreas Papadakis. He's the co-founder, vice president, and CEO of Archeothiki SA. That's a big title for a Greek company. Okay. And next to him is Kostis Paikos. He's the director of digital at OPAP. Next to him is Tay Bannerman. I hope I pronounced that right. Okay. He's a partner at McKinsey & Company. Next to him is George Nasoulis. He's the general manager and group CDO, chief digital officer. Because
data and analytics.
Data. The D is for data.
Yeah.
We're going to use that. It's much better. Yeah. Data. That's even more interesting than digital. Personal opinion. Okay, and last but not least, it's Christos Vasilopoulos. He's principal for engineering, AI, and data at Deloitte. So we have the two people that say they are doing a lot of data in the back. Here also this guy does a lot of data, and these other two, everybody's doing with data. That's the thing with Gen AI in general. So, George, I will start with you. How you're using Gen AI in Piraeus Bank?
Okay, good morning, good afternoon. All. Thank you for inviting me in that conference, which is very interesting. So I would start from the beginning, meaning to link somehow the use case of GenAI with the strategy, because it's very critical for me to have a very concrete AI strategy in place. So just to say that the journey for Piraeus Bank transformation has started some years ago, with a very clear vision to manage data and analytics as a corporate asset, strategic asset, and to elevate the bank into a data and AI-driven organization. So the second step was to formulate a very concrete, a very clear and value-driven strategy, AI strategy, to be honest. Just to give you some very, very few, let's say, details on the building blocks of this strategy, which are the vision. So we have a very concrete vision to generate value out of a roadmap that we have already defined of use cases. Second, and this vision has three pillars mainly, is the revenue growth through customer experiences, the operational efficiency, and the risk reduction, which is a third pillar, which is not, we will not deal today with that. After that, it's the vision, the second building block of our strategy, meaning we have, let's say, prioritized and defined and prioritized with almost all the business units of the bank, more than 8 use cases, a roadmap, and ending up with a high level, I would say, timeline to implement them.
So you have implemented these cases,
No,
right?
no, it's a 4 years roadmap.
It's a 4 years roadmap.
Yeah.
We're talking about AI and Gen AI?
AI and Gen AI, both.
Okay. Can you give us some examples?
Yeah, I will give you, for sure. But just to give you some figures on that, because it's very, very interesting to have this in terms of value creation. Because we are doing that in order to generate value for the organizations. So this is, I would say, this use case portfolio is business-backed and value-driven portfolio across the business units. The 50% of the I would say bottom line impact will be generated within by the first 25% of use cases, and within the first 1.5 years, meaning that this is a front-loaded and a roadmap and a strategy.
So you're going to see the fruits of your investment and the investment on GenAI and AI very soon. That's what you're
very soon, meaning in 1.5 years. And the total impact that we have calculated is about 10% of bottom line over the annualized net income pre-provision of the bank. So, because if you don't have the value, the generation of the value, and if you don't have a very concrete KVDs, I think it will fail. That's why I'm mentioning that. Third pillar is the operating model. You should have the governance, you should have processes across all the AI value chain, you should have people and infrastructure in order to implement. And the fourth one is the responsible AI, which is across all the use cases. So, how we implemented that strategy to GenAI specifically. First of all, we defined a list of GenAI use cases in cooperation with the business units. Having that list, I would say we plotted the use cases against in two axes, let's say, one for the value, one for the feasibility. And high feasibility and high value use cases are considered as the winners, I would say, and guided our investment decisions. So just to give you some ideas on that, the main areas that have been, let's say, promoted are the assistant for the internal staff of the bank, banker assistant, contact center assistant, customer virtual assistant as well, and I will tell you a very real story about that. Intelligent document processing, code generation, and hyper-personalization. This is the main areas based on that prioritization. Just to give you
implemented some of these?
Yeah, sure. Just to give you some real examples. One example is the virtual assistant in our mobile banking, which is very, very critical for us. It has been launched 3 months ago, 3 or 4 months ago. And what we achieved by that, to become the bank, I think is the first financial institution to embed GenAI in customer journeys. The impact of that, if I remember well, 25K users, unique users per month, more than 60K questions answered, more than 60% increase in the positive feedback of the customers, and significant reduction in call center capacity.
So you have seen already the positive feedback of using GenAI.
And we will extend that. We can discuss a bit later.
Yeah.
Another use case is I would say, augmented development, software development, meaning to use GenAI in order to accelerate the development for code review, documentation, and even for code generation, having an impact of approximately, on average, 15% across the line in terms of time to market and efficiency gains. Another use case that we have implemented this year, because I'm talking about this year, the 2024, is the Treasury, I would say, contracts analyzer. We have implemented GenAI in order to analyze contracts, very complicated derivatives contracts in our Treasury department, promoting transparency to all the stakeholders, accelerating the negotiations, and even optimizing the terms of the contracts as well. There are other use cases as well. I would say the lending, let's say, contract drafting for revolving loans, which is a use case as well, and the sentiment analysis for our, let's say, clients' reviews and feedback.
So you're doing a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
We understand that.
We are doing a lot, to be honest. Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on. Kostis, give us what you're doing at OPAP.
Right, we've been utilizing AI for some years now.
Yeah, well, we're talking more about GenAI.
Yeah, that's why I'm going to focus on GenAI.
Yeah.
So we started our journey on GenAI right after the launch of ChatGPT, I assume like everyone else, trying to figure out, to measure the impact of this technology in our operations and the way we create value for our customers. And the good thing, and could be surprising for a big company, is that we very soon realized that this emerging technology is going to be heavily disruptive, and it's going to affect both our operations as well as the way we interact with our customers. So the first thing we decided to do is to understand practically the capabilities of this technology, not just us, people in technology, but everyone in the company. So we wanted our people to touch and feel this new technology, understand the capabilities. Why? Because when more complex use cases will come, that will eventually affect their daily work, they're going to be prepared, they're going to be more literate, they can be able to scale. So for this, for example, we were one of the first companies globally that have joined an early access program from Microsoft for Copilot. That was something like 5 months after the launch of GPT, which back then sounded very long shot and maybe premature. However, not only we do not regret this decision, however, we see that today we have a utilization of weekly Copilot on average of more than 85% across our licenses.
85% are using Copilot?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
The paid version we're talking.
Sorry?
We're talking about the paid version.
The paid and the safe, yes.
Okay.
And we're talking actually about the Copilot M365, which is integrated on the tool marketing, on the Microsoft tools.
That's why I'm saying that.
So why we did that, as I said, because we wanted to create awareness internally. Because the company is going to change eventually through the introduction of many generative AI use cases within its company, within its functions. And we also wanted to make sure that our people are on board on that. And we have seen very, very good results, as I said, with the utilization of GenAI for the everyday work. Productivity increases. You've
seen the productivity increase?
Yes, we have seen the productivity increase.
Can you measure it? Can you give us a number?
That's a hard thing to say. We have some KPIs that has to do with the actual, let's say, utilization of the service. However, we don't have a, let's say, fully integrated tool that can make the productivity increase at the moment, because it's very diverse and it's very segmented to specific tools. However, we are measuring it on a qualitative way. I mean, we conduct surveys, we talk to people, we see how we have focus groups.
But in the back end, meaning in the operational part, you've seen very big gains, and perhaps you're trying to do that also.
Yes, but don't get me wrong. Enabling a tool has never been an innovation.
Yeah.
However, if this tool helps you to open new roads, to change mentality, and to create innovation, to nurture innovation, then it's the right way to go, especially at preliminary stages. So that was just a preliminary thing that we decided to do for our people in order to establish that this is going to change everything. Beyond that, we did similar things like what Mr. Ansoulis has mentioned. We have been experimenting with a lot of use cases with our call centers. For example, categorization, tagging, sentiment analysis for the calls. Another very nice use cases that has to do with the customer surveys that are conducted via calls.
Okay.
The algorithm is able to listen to the whole discussion and provide the insights at the end. Of course, software coding, optimization, productivity increases for our software development team. We have a pretty big software development team at OPAP. Another low-hanging fruit that we started really early on, and we see tangible results there, is marketing and communication, the material that we create for marketing and communication.
So you're doing a lot of stuff. That's what you're saying.
It's a total mess, but
you already see the gains from that.
I just want to, in a nutshell, what I want to say is that we spent most of our time from the beginning of the journey on operational efficiency, on productivity, on learning for our internal functions. That will eventually they will also have an impact on the customer experience. On a parallel stream, we are working behind the scenes for some use cases that are directly directed to the end users.
Okay.
However, these are much more complex. The technology, we're not 100% sure that it is there in terms of the standards that we want. So those are the two streams that we're currently working on.
Okay, but mainly it's at this point at the operational efficiency part, right? Mainly.
Primarily, but there are certain things that they have impact on the end user. For example, all the digital creatives that we do, and digital copywriting and everything. Now we can do it much better. The deliverables are much more engaging in much less time. So it's a dual benefit there.
Okay.
And there are other examples.
Okay, yeah. Andreas, you're offering something that's very convenient for your customers. Can you give us an example of what you're doing exactly, how you're using GenAI to improve operational efficiency in an organization?
Okay, we are in the AI services. We're an AI service provider. So these guys are
Your
our clients. Okay, most of them.
Spot.
So I want to go a step back and say that for us, operational efficiency, and you said that, operational efficiency is highly linked to customer experience. Highly linked.
Totally.
Okay, so all these companies, OPAP, Piraeus, even Deloitte a bit less.
Deloitte and
Deloitte and McKinsey a
They're
bit
doing
less.
their own stuff, I
They
think.
are big operations.
Yeah.
They're operations. When the operations are lean, the customers are happy.
Sure.
Okay? So it's nice to face the customer with a nice portal, provide new services, but if these services are not lean, you have an issue. So to me, I will give you some examples of implementations we have had in the past. When you decrease the payment time of an insurance customer, of a patient, from 14 days to 1 day, this is customer experience. Okay? And this is crucial. So what has happened for us in the past? We started experimenting AI back in 2018 because there was a guy with us. Our story is a story of let's go, let's do it. And this is something that is lacking, I think, in Greece. So a guy within our organization said, okay, I want to do this. He was a developer and he said, I don't like developers, I want to do this. And we said, okay, what is this? We discussed and we said, let's try it. And from one guy, now we're 20. And then in 2019, there was a customer, I will say the name because it's honor to them, Hoist, who said, okay, you're doing this, let's try. Let's try. And this customer had received, I think, 200,000 bank loans, and they didn't know what was in there. And we said, okay, this is premature yet. We've been trying and experimenting for 1.5 years, and we said, let's try together. And we tried together, and that's how the story started. So we go back in, we dive into operations, and we provide results. This let's do it story, I think, is something that is changing now for the past 4 or 5 years. We've been a lot into discussions, into roadmaps, into POCs. At some time I said, no more POCs, no more POCs, enough with POCs. What is happening right now is that we are implementing, we have these roadmaps, so we have the moonshot that is, you said in Piraeus, for years, you will start getting some interesting first results in 1 year. For us, 4 years is forever. It's forever. Honestly, we are customers.
You believe that things are moving too
4
fast?
years, I mean, ChatGPT was created, and then everything was
Yeah,
gone.
we move faster. That's
gone.
what they're saying. Yeah.
It's the first time in history, I think, of technology history that we do not have to implement, we do not have time to implement a technology before the next technology disrupts.
Next version comes out.
And we do not have time to amortize the investments that are done
So
before the next.
what exactly you're offering? You're offering a solution that can take can check the documents, right?
We check the documents.
But with Gen AI tool, right?
A blend.
A blend.
A blend, because all technologies are not the best for all the cases.
Okay.
So we always use GenAI to do the QC, to control the results that ML, that deep learning, that whatever has produced. And we arrive at 98, 97, 99% accuracy, depending on the case.
But
Depending on the
still,
case.
you're above 95%. So
Above 95%.
what you offered to your customer, and now you're offering to more customers, just to understand how these things works, is that you use Gen AI to see, to check a lot of documents in a very faster time, right?
Yes.
More or less. Can you give us an amount of how much? Because we were talking on the phone the other day, and you told me a very interesting fact that they found more loans that they have already purchased, right?
Yes. They didn't know that the bank thought that they had 100 contracts, and they ended up with 120 contracts, 130 contracts, which was good for both sides.
Yeah.
Because you do not know what is down there. For the past 6 months, we've been in the, it's funny, in the payment process. I mean, we make faster payments. I talked to you about the
That's
insurance
also
company.
that's both operational efficiency and customer experience.
But we have also another customer, which most likely they are here. We improve the speed to pay their suppliers. There was a backlog because you have to check documents, cross-check with databases, check. You create a backlog, and then we created this flow. We have a platform. We build a platform, and if we work with a customer, we identify flows, spaces of potential improvement using AI, GenAI, and we start this roadmap, as you said, and as the roadmap is implemented, every task is a new flow, and the customer sees, improvement flow by flow.
So you automated that part.
Each flow is an automation.
Okay, that's
Is a process that, it's interesting, it's a process that basically vanishes. It vanishes.
That's very interesting. So I'm moving now to Tay. Give us some examples of how you are using GenAI to help your customers or even your organization in these two sections, operational excellence and customer experience.
Yeah, and so a lot of the work we do with clients is helping them, on the one hand, do strategy around, okay, what should they be doing, what should they be prioritizing, and on the other hand, actually helping them implement. And this is clients across industries, so from banks to mining companies and so on. And in terms of customer experience, where we're seeing the biggest kind of impact is...
You're seeing in customer experience?
In customer experience.
Okay, because the other three guys were more in the operational excellence. That's interesting.
Well, they talked about operational efficiency, so I'll talk about customer experience.
Yeah, fine.
So on the customer experience side, so having customers directly be able to interface in natural language.
Yeah.
So I think that the easiest example is everyone has gone on holiday, looking for a hotel. Booking.com recently released a feature where rather than going, okay, I'm looking for a hotel in this price range and with these attributes, you can just type in what you want. So you can say, I need to be within 5 minutes walk of a beach. I need a hotel with good vegetarian options. And normally these aren't options that are available.
Yeah.
But what they do is they use generative AI to understand what you've typed, go through all the reviews, all the Google Maps data, all the different data sources to then translate what you've typed into a query that they can then bring you back the results to say, here are the hotels that, that have good vegetarian options that are within 5 minutes walk to the beach. So these are things that a customer couldn't do before, where before you were tied to a particular structure and logic that you can now do. And so you have companies that are using this for customer experience to really make the customer experience much smoother across different types of industries. And then the other side of that is call centers. So you mentioned call centers when a customer phones up. So if I have my phone company and I have issues connecting to my broadband or something, previously the customer call center agent would need to go through multiple systems and documents to work out, is there a network issue? Is there a problem with my plan? Have I used up all my data? Now they're using copilots where they can just instantly look up and say, okay.
Usually it's like,
Yeah.
do you have a problem with that? Or is that, at some point you are, fuck.
Yeah, exactly,
You hang
exactly,
up.
yeah.
So what you're saying is that in this, there are two areas. Okay, where else do you see? Do you see anywhere else
And so where we're actually seeing our clients have the biggest revenue uplift from generative AI is in marketing and sales.
in marketing?
Yeah, so you mentioned hyper-personalization.
And the cost is
And so that's essentially to be able to, on the one hand, use generative AI to create marketing content, but also to do it in a much more personalized fashion.
Yeah.
So to understand the information that let's say a bank has about each one of us, and to be able to communicate via email or text message or whatever it might be to each one of us differently.
A personalized message.
Exactly.
Have you any examples that you can share with us with like that?
Yeah, so recently working with a bank, and so the first area they're using it is to communicate with customers about new savings accounts.
Okay.
And so when you have a savings account, normally how a bank communicates is they talk about the product, this percentage rate, these features, and so on. But what they find is if you can talk to a customer about why they would want to use the savings account, so for some people it's to save for their kids' future, for some people it's to buy a new car in the future. So what they're doing is they're using the data they have about each customer to personalize how they communicate about the product in a way that means something to each customer. And so this is a bank that's already doing this, and they're seeing, I think, 25 to 30% uplift in how people actually how people engage with their emails because of this hyper-personalization.
Okay. Christos, you're last, I know.
Yeah.
But I'm going to continue then with you. I will start with you the next round.
It's okay. So yeah, for us also, we do have the clients that we actually serve in several aspects. I mean, we try to help them also with strategy and all these kind of frameworks that they have to follow the AI and GenAI thing. So there I can see several, right now, virtual assistants and chatbots that we're actually implementing to the customers, mostly for internal users, so mostly for operational efficiency. So that's what they're actually looking for right now. But also we are building a team internal. I mean, we are looking also for efficiency internally, operational efficiency in Deloitte. So we're trying to.
So you're trying to test what you're doing for outside, inside, right?
Yes. I mean, there is also internal departments that we have that we need to help them. So we build some chatbots or several tools that they can use for contracts or stuff like that. But also we try to identify. We do have a team dedicated only for Deloitte internal processes to look for workflows or processes that we can automate in a way with GenAI. So we're exploring all the different departments of Deloitte to find ways to help them.
What we're going to see in the future?
Okay.
Because till now, what we're saying more or less, I'm trying to sum it up a little bit. It's on the operational efficiency part, it's that automate procedures, perhaps a lot of things, and it's very good, and it's very also the coding stuff, and that is on the customer experience, chatbots, meaning more. Should we expect something, in the near future, which is, I don't know, a little bit more sci-fi or whatever?
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of sci-fi, so I don't know.
To be honest, I discussed it with Andreas before we enter. It's difficult for me to predict anything regarding the future. It changes, this technology changes so fast that, I don't know what we will have next year, to be honest. But what we actually see, and there is a trend right now for 2025, I would say, it's like multi-agent systems. So agents, not only chatbots or virtual assistants or more simple things, but the next step, actual systems that they do things. They get info, live data, and they are doing more complex stuff than actually answering on the chatbot or something as simple as that. So
you gave a pass to Andreas.
Yeah, we discussed with Andreas, before ending that, and he said that it's actually 2 years. We cannot see in 2 years. The thing right now is that we see a lot of changes in 6 months' time, for example.
Yeah.
We had implementations working with GPT 3.5. After 6 months, it was actually outdated. So we do see a lot of change regarding all the platforms, the tools that you have, but you also see a lot of opportunities. There are companies that we can build from 0 to 100 in 1 day, but then I would say that maybe next month another product, another tool, the same thing can get you out of the market. So I don't know what will be in 2 years.
Okay, Andreas, next year will be totally different talk if we were here again in the same panel. That's what Chris is saying. Do you agree?
I don't think so. For the time being, I think what has been implemented so far is more tactical than disruptive.
Okay.
We have a technology that can potentially be disruptive.
Yeah.
But for the time being, I think all the implementation, or most of them, what I have seen, are tactical. I mean, nothing has vanished, clearly.
Meaning we didn't change the procedures,
Procedures are automated.
That's
but this
the thing.
is not disruptive.
Okay.
This is not like something has disappeared and something else. I mean, the technology, obviously, GPT and GenAI has the potential to be disruptive.
But we haven't seen.
But the applications have not been disruptive yet, and I don't know if in the 4-year roadmap of Piraeus is something really disruptive. I do not know, okay? I know that there are all these 80 or 70 or 80 flows that have been identified. I do not know if something is disruptive.
But
there is a potential. There is a potential.
George over there.
We are going to go faster.
Answer
We are going to
that.
provide faster data. We're going to streamline operations. It's not sci-fi.
So
it's going faster.
So George, are we going to see something disruptive? Meaning, I agree with Andreas, to be honest. But are we going to see something disruptive?
It depends what we mean by disruptive. I think most of the use cases will change the operating model, and sometimes the business model as well. Yeah, for
We're
sure.
going to see a different business model
Maybe
from
yes,
the back.
but today we are talking about GenAI.
Yeah.
Most disruptions will be brought by the more traditional, maybe AI, meaning machine learning models, which can change the operating model at least, if not the business model as well. So that's why I was saying about 80 use cases. This is being reviewed every 6 months. In the bank, it's a dynamic portfolio and the roadmap, and this has been endorsed by an AI committee, which even the CEO is participating.
So next year we will have a lot of different stuff to talk about. That's what they're saying.
Yeah, I think, yes, I can give you some practical examples what we plan for next year in GenAI, not generally. GenAI, so we will extend our virtual assistant in mobile banking and e-banking, meaning to implement a conversational banking.
I'm a customer. I will come back
I
next
know
year
that.
and I will
You can try, even today.
Bank.
You can try. So we will implement a conversational banking, meaning from informative questions to transactions. How to, I would like to pay my, let's say, bill payment, etc., using speech.
Through speech, we're going to make a transaction?
Yeah, sure.
Meaning that I will say, okay, transfer 20 euros to Christos and it will be transferred just recognizing my voice?
It will be captured in order for you to review and press the button to be transferred.
Okay, that would be fine.
So it's one use case. Some other use case, robo-advisor for insurance, for wealth management, customer insights for unstructured data for wealth management as well. RMs, meaning the relationship managers, to have some GenAI virtual assistant for their commercial dialogue with their customers. All these change the operating model. It's not just to have a facilitator there. And there are other use cases that we have planned. There are 11 GenAI use cases to be implemented within the next 12 months.
I have to say that Kostis here, which is always like that, because he comes from the banking world as well. Before OPAP, he worked for one of the largest banks in Greece, that's why. But do you agree with George that we're going to see like that stuff, which will be disruptive perhaps? And we're going to see that from OPAP?
I may be biased, however, I think it makes totally sense, perfect sense, that this technology is going to change, not even completely, but in a very large extent, the way we operate and the way we provide value. Our friends in McKinsey say that eventually 40 to 60% of working tasks can be automated. How can this not be disruptive? Also, from a customer experience perspective, you can become as personal as never before. What Yorgos said before, and it's for us, for example, in order to be a little bit provocative, we decided to skip the wave of AI assistants. And we are putting our money on AI agents.
Okay.
I will be, in simple terms, for those that are not familiar with the difference, is that AI assistants, they can actually retrieve information and communicate in a natural language, but they cannot perform complex reasoning, they cannot do transactions.
But that's what they're going to do.
That's what AI agents do. And for me, they will eventually become the new digital interaction touch points in the digital world. They will replace websites, they will replace native applications. If you have a bot that can do very complex reasoning, they can perform transaction for you from any device or whatever. Why do you need a mobile app? Why do you need a website? Why do you need a call center? Why do you need everything? If this is not disruptive, then what it is?
That's disruptive, and we're talking about something like a personal digital assistant. I don't know what we'll call. So, Tay, the thing I would like to ask is that, okay, perhaps everybody in this panel, for sure, and perhaps all of the people in the panel or they're following us, they believe in technology, and okay, we're right about that, and we will be disruptive, and perhaps it won't be disruptive in terms that we see that coming. Is that the case for everybody in the world? Meaning outside the customers, the people that are working, which are not in the technology. Do you think that they have the same aspiration and see the same changes that we see? And what do you see?
Yeah.
Meaning, is that the biggest challenge that we have? That's where I'm trying to go.
I think it's a difficult one to answer. I think for most people, they haven't seen any change with generative AI yet in their day-to-day lives. But I think a lot of the data is showing the majority of people have used or are using generative AI, ChatGPT, and so on. I think the latest was 65% of people
something like that,
have tried. But then you have kind of companies like Apple that are about to launch generative AI tools in every iPhone and every iPad. And so I think the more we see these consumer brands launching features, launching products that are going to be transformative, the more everyday people become exposed to this. And I think that will also change the expectations that they have on the banks, on the businesses that they deal with day to day. And so I think we are going to be in a future where the majority of people will be exposed to generative AI, will understand what it is and how to use it and what it can do. And I think that will definitely...
So the future is really interesting about that. What do you see in the future coming?
I mean, I think to your point earlier, I think the future will mean a lot of companies use generative AI as an opportunity to transform the way they work and to transform what they do. So it's not about
they work and also the way that they operate towards their customers and
exactly
both of them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
And so I don't think it'll be about individual use cases. It's about taking a step back and saying what is possible, and then how can we
change everything?
Yeah.
Or whatever we can change.
Exactly.
Is there a time frame for that?
Well, we're already seeing companies do that. I think it's less than 5% of companies that are seeing
less increase, perhaps,
meaningful impact. But I think we'll get to a place where there'll be so much competition from these companies that are seeing impact that every company will be forced. So 12, 24 months.
Okay, one last question for everybody, and we'll start from Christos. Which is the biggest challenge now in the future for using Gen AI in terms of changing the whole landscape in businesses, but also in the everyday's life?
I think two things, actually. One is everything related to security, data privacy, data protection, all this kind of stuff that we have to be careful regarding using Gen AI. And the next one is how we are moving on from this point. I mean, we did all POCs, how we scale up. So that's the big step right now, how we move on to the next level. That's, I think, all the companies, what they're looking for and how they're going there. So, yeah.
Okay. George, the biggest challenge?
The biggest challenge. Before going to challenges for the future, I think we should address the challenges of the present.
Okay.
Because there are many. So, in a nutshell, leadership challenges, awareness, knowledge, even sometimes institutional lack of institutional urgency for creating a strategy, first of all. Second, the challenge is legacy technology roadblocks, maybe, and challenges. And the third one, I would say adoption and measurement, which is a big challenge as well. I could give you some details on how we are addressing all of these, but I don't know if we have the time for that.
We are right after now, it's the break with lunch. So
okay.
I'm not so sure that everybody will be,
Because it's very,
I think
very
a lot of people will come and talk to you afterwards. In any case, okay. Tay, the biggest challenge. I asked you before, but it was a different kind of challenge because it was my perception of what the challenge should be. But perhaps you have a different
I
challenge.
think the biggest challenge for organizations is adoption. It's
Adoption.
Humans. So we have generative AI tools ourselves that we are building and implementing. And we're finding for every €1 we spend on the technology, we have to spend €5 on adoption, on training people, helping people understand how to use this responsibly. And so I think that will continue to be a challenge.
So it's to educate the adoption and the education of the people that are going to use the tools. Okay. Kostis.
Yeah, I agree with everybody. I mean, and I think you, because I see that you have great expectations from us on, we have to move fast on that. It's difficult,
I have as a customer.
No, that's why I'm yeah, it's very hard to scale. For me, the greatest challenge is scaling because, it's easy to pilot, to find the killer use case, what we all do at the moment, to be honest, right? It's very difficult to scale because you need to have talent. Talent is very scarce at the moment. You need to have money. This is an expensive sport.
Money we have. That's not
You do? Okay. So scaling is very challenging. It will come eventually, but I don't know when. Also, you have to work this at par with the evolution of the technology itself.
And also with the evolution of the people that they are working with that. I totally agree with Tate.
Of course.
Okay, Andreas, the challenges.
I have to agree with everybody now. I was a party pooper before about disrupting.
Yeah, that's why.
Let's close this on a positive side.
To define.
You know something, because you talked about disruption, and that's something that is, do we really need to have something disruptive with Gen AI in order for people, and I'm not talking about the business people, but perhaps everyday people, to adopt fast about that, seeing that it's something changing everything. So I have to go there. Is that the biggest challenge, or we should go a little bit, by baby steps? Even though baby steps.
First of all, about disruptive, definitely it's transformational.
Yeah, okay.
Deeply transformational.
Heavy.
Disruptive, we can discuss about this. I think the
biggest.
Okay, GDPR, ethics, scalability, of course. Okay, how we can scale up.
Responsibility.
I think values.
Values.
Values are going to change because a lot of things are going to change within our society. So we don't have time to think about this new social, philosophical, whatever, value-related concept, and we need to think about this and adapt. Of course, the adoption part is a question of talent, it's a question of ethics, it's a question of time, not money, time,
resources,
prioritization, and this is going to happen in the next years. Okay. It's not going to stop.
Okay. The timer is up. Thanks very much. Ένα χειροκρότημα παρακαλώ για όλους αυτούς εδώ. Λοιπόν, ελπίζω να σας άρεσε, αλλά νομίζω ότι κάτι μου λέει ότι θα σας αρέσει περισσότερο το networking και το φαγητό που είναι έξω, και οι ομιλητές θα είναι εδώ πέρα, νομίζω. You will be everybody outside if someone wants to talk. Thanks very much.
Thank you.